Fox 45 News is on verdict watch tonight. On your left, the family of a murdered pregnant woman fighting for justice. And on your right, jury deliberations continue in the case of a Squeegee kid charged with shooting and killing a Baltimore driver. The heat is on. Live pictures out of Ocean City as we kick off a heat wave. The heat advisories we're monitoring tonight.
Is there evidence that proves that Boeing's executives acted in a criminal manner?
Well, in this case, Boeing, the company, has admitted that it committed a crime.
And a story you'll only see here at 6, why the families of more than 300 people who died in 2 Boeing plane crashes are accusing the federal government of protecting the company and its executives.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala. Fox 45 News at 6 starts right now with the exclusive Fox Track Your Baltimore Minute.
More than 6 years after Akia Eggleston was last seen alive, the state and defense outlined to the jury why the father of her unborn child, Michael Robertson, should or should not be found guilty of murder. The assistant state's attorney showing the timeline of Akia and Robertson's last known communications and movements using cell tower data and phone records, calls and text messages that have been presented as evidence, as well as witness testimony. But the defense poking holes in the state's narrative and investigators' detective work. Robertson's attorney even pointing the finger at 2 other people, including one of Akia's friends who testified in court.
I think there's no argument for the defense.
Baltimore seeing a nearly 200% increase in auto thefts so far this year.
It's not a matter of, hey, if my car will be stolen. No, it's when. Your car likely will be stolen if you park it in a public place here in Baltimore City, if it's a Kia or Hyundai.
Now, a Fox 45 News alert in 3, 2, 1.
The highly anticipated decision day in the case of a teenage Squeegee kid accused of murder has been pushed back. That's because juror number 5 called out sick. The defense called for a mistrial, but the prosecution requested deliberations press on. Ultimately, the judge decided it's still too soon to throw in the towel.
I don't begrudge defense counsel for not wanting that. They're obviously, hoping for a mistrial. They're hoping that this is a holdout juror.
I knew that if we didn't make the request, the state would make the request, and it would probably be granted. But if we did make the request, it would probably be denied.
Why would it be granted if the prosecution requested it, but not if you requested it? Are you saying the judge would favor?
I'm not saying anything, but we seem to know how cases go from time to time.
Well, right now, the jury is deciding if the 16-year-old Squeegee kid, who police say shot and killed Timothy Reynolds, is guilty of murder or not. Deliberations could continue tomorrow. Well, coming up in 10 minutes, we'll have the latest in the trial for Michael Robertson. He's facing murder after his 22-year-old pregnant ex-girlfriend vanished in Baltimore. Mary?
Guy, thank you. Here's our look at today's top trending stories. Number 1, there were multiple shootings this morning in South Baltimore. The first happened on Washington Boulevard just after 3. A 31-year-old man had been shot multiple times. He was taken to the hospital. Then around 11, 3 people were shot on Cherry Hill Road. A 14-year-old boy, a 19-year-old man, and a 26-year-old were all treated for non-life-threatening injuries. Number 2, a third arrest tonight after a 17-year-old was shot and killed in Baltimore County back in April. Today, police announced 18-year-old Bryson Butterfly is in custody. Police are linking him to the death of Elias Cieslak. The teen was shot and killed in Overly. Another 17-year-old and a 32-year-old man have been arrested and charged with murder. Number 3, Maryland callers appear to have been affected by a nationwide Verizon outage. Verizon says the outage is now over, but customers were not able to place a call from cell phones to landlines. 911 was not affected. Number 4, President Biden plans to nominate former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley to be the next commissioner of the Social Security Administration. His appointment will come as concerns remain over the future of Social Security. According to the Congressional Budget Office, reserves for Social Security's main trust fund will be depleted in just 10 years. If that happens, Social Security will only be able to pay 80% of scheduled benefits after 2034.
We are in the throes of the beginning of a heat wave, a heat advisory area in orange. That's the entire area for tomorrow. And then on Friday, even hotter yet. An excessive heat watch could be as hot, or at least feel as hot, as about 110 degrees. Temperatures now off of highs of 89, 86 now in sunshine, a little bit of haze with some poor air quality. Code orange alert day. That's an air quality alert here in Baltimore. 86 at BWI, 86 at Aberdeen. We're still in the 90s at Westminster, but get a load of this. Next 3 days for today, we're at 92 on the real field, but could feel as hot as 106 Thursday, 109 on Friday. I'm going to let you know when we could have some relief around here. That's coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
Jonathan, thank you. Well, Mayor Brandon Scott tapping James Wallace as the new fire chief of Baltimore. The position has been vacant for months. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker has a closer look at the nomination and what comes next.
Union leaders say the department is facing many issues right now, including a staffing and equipment shortage. They're hopeful that a new leader will be receptive to new ideas to turn things around.
Good morning, everyone.
After nearly 8 months without a permanent chief at the Baltimore Fire Department, Mayor Brandon Scott announcing his pick Wednesday.
I will be naming James Wallace as our next fire chief for Baltimore City.
Wallace has been with the department for more than 3 decades. His latest role leading the Office of Emergency Management.
My vision for the city of Baltimore is to provide safe communities.
Scott calling him the best choice when asked if a nationwide search was conducted to fill the vacancy.
We opened this up, but we know that we have some of the best and the brightest here in Baltimore, and if you heard this from me very recently, we don't always have to go outside.
Former Chief Niles Ford resigned abruptly last December following the release of a damning report on the Stricker Street fire, which took the lives of 3 Baltimore City firefighters. The report outlined departmental problems, including a chaotic response to the fire and detailed communication, leadership, and cultural issues within the department. It included pages of recommendations. Fox 45 asked Wallace how he planned to make those changes and ensure a similar tragedy never happens.
Since that report's been released, all the acting chiefs that have been in the office prior to me getting here have moved that forward. They've looked very deeply at the internal BOI. There are other reports that were unrelated at the time that we were working on already, the department was already working on, and they are definitely moving forward with that. They have moved forward with that.
But Josh Fannin, president of the Fire Officers Union, and Matthew Coster, president of the local 734 union, says there's still a lot of progress to be made.
Some of them have been implemented in full. Some have been partially implemented and require a little bit further.
It's just not the Stricker Street report. It's every line of duty death report that we've had. We would like to see all those recommendations met, but obviously it comes with money and issues of that.
The pair also point to equipment and staffing issues plaguing the department.
We've reached a crisis mode with that, where there's only so many hours people can work in a given year.
They say there's about a 15% vacancy rate among firefighters and 33% vacancy among EMS. They're hopeful Wallace will be the leader they need to bring true change.
There's no mystery to solving these problems. They just have to be taken seriously, and the steps that are needed have to be implemented. And we're hopeful that Chief Wallace is going to be receptive to hearing all of our ideas and strategies on moving the department forward with staffing and apparatus and other things.
Now, Wallace is not currently a resident here in Baltimore City, but the mayor says that will change. It is a requirement of the job. His official nomination will be announced at a city council meeting on August 21st. Reporting in Baltimore, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
A Baltimore jury deliberating right now in the case of a 22-year-old pregnant woman whose ex-boyfriend is charged with murder. We have the latest from court.
Republicans push to impeach the Secretary of Homeland Security. What are their complaints and how does he push back? I'm Scott Thuman on Capitol Hill with those tense exchanges coming up.
Now, a Fox 45 News Alert in 3, 2, 1.
New developments tonight in the trial of the man accused of killing his pregnant ex-girlfriend who went missing in 2017. The jury is deliberating the fate of Michael Robertson. Akia Eggleston disappeared when she was 22. She was 8 months pregnant at the time. The state claims Robertson killed Akia inside her Cherry Hill home after they got into an argument, then put her body in a nearby dumpster. But the defense poked holes in the state's narrative, and investigators went to work. Well, Robertson's attorney even pointed a finger at 2 other people, including one of Akia's friends who testified in court. Outside of court, Akia's family emotional and ready for a verdict.
It was really, really painful to hear the words, "She's dead. Her baby is dead. They're not coming back." Reality just, it smacked me in the face right there that she's not coming back. You know, this is the final say. This is just, you know, summing up everything that we've been waiting for.
Well, the jury has to decide if Michael Robertson is guilty or not of 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of second-degree murder. The jury will continue to deliberate tomorrow. Mary.
Thank you. Taking a look now at the Fox 45 quad box, Irish music star Sinead O'Connor has died. She was only 56 years old. She rose to stardom with her cover of Prince's Nothing Compares to You and was known for her outspoken activism. The family did not release a cause of death. The White House declining to weigh in on Hunter Biden. The president's son pleaded not guilty to federal tax charges today. This after a reported plea agreement fell apart. A London jury has acquitted Kevin Spacey on sexual assault charges. 4 men accused the 64-year-old of sex abuse dating back 20 years. The jury deliberated for 3 days. The Federal Reserve announces another rate hike. It's at a 22-year high. Right now, economic forecasts show a smaller chance of a recession. Today, taking another step in their attempt to impeach the Secretary of Homeland Security. Lawmakers are accusing Alejandro Mayorkas of making matters at the U.S. southern border worse and being dishonest about his actions. Sinclair's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman live for us from D.C. with the very latest on all of this. Scott, good evening.
Yeah, good evening to you, Mary. In this hearing today, contentious enough that Democrats on multiple occasions had to remind the room that this was an oversight hearing, not an impeachment one, even though many Republicans would have liked for that to be the case. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas defending his job performance and trying to fend off Republican calls for impeachment raised in a House hearing Wednesday.
For the first time in modern history, more people are showing up at the ports of entry than running through some bush in Yuma, Arizona. And the reason they're showing up at the ports of entry is because you've got the turnstile open.
Congressman, I disagree with everything you have said.
Right, but you can disagree all you want, but what you won't provide is any number.
Republicans allege more than 100 migrants on the terror watch list have tried crossing the southern border this year, in addition to skyrocketing amounts of deadly fentanyl.
My Republican colleagues claim that the border is open. Is the border open, Mr. Secretary?
No, it is not.
Democrats highlight data showing encounters are down 70% over just the last 10 weeks. But others say it's too early to declare victory, with some suggesting the drop may be temporary.
It has been broken for as long as I can remember.
It has become an almost expected routine these days. Republicans call to remove high-level members of the Biden administration, putting Democrats in a constant state of rebuttal.
Under the Trump administration, the borders were secure. Biden came in the very first day, reversed all of the policies that had secured our borders, and we're now facing the worst illegal mass migration in the history of this country.
Prompting Texas Governor Greg Abbott to install new floating spiked barriers in the Rio Grande. He says to defend the state. Critics call them deadly. The Justice Department this week filed suit to have them removed.
Texas has a 1,241-mile border. The buoys are only about 1,000 feet. What the governor's trying to do is just do something symbolic.
So is there a real possibility that Mayorkas would be impeached? It seems highly improbable, considering that even if the full House were to support that notion, the Democratic-led Senate would probably not do the same. Mary?
All right, Sinclair's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman live from D.C. for us tonight. Thank you.
And we are on weather alert starting tomorrow all the way through Friday, and that's because of this. Heat advisories in effect up and down the 95 corridor. Entire area could feel as hot as a 95 to 105 tomorrow. Could feel as hot as a dangerous 110 by Friday, and that's why we have an excessive heat watch out for Baltimore City and the surrounding areas. Of course, you need to hydrate. Drink plenty of water, those clear liquids. That's going to be the way to go. Non-sugary beverages, loose, lightweight, and light-colored clothes. Take breaks in the shade and the air conditioning. Of course, check on yourself and others, pets, neighbors. Make sure that they are cool as well. 86 right now. The Towson Mile 1 Towson looking real hazy. In fact, we still have a code orange air quality alert from Baltimore City points north and east for the rest of today. And you can see why. The bad air quality. Winds out of the south-southeast at 7 miles an hour. Humidity at 61%. And our feels like temperature, it's hot, but nothing compared to what it's going to be. 91 degrees. 86 Baltimore now after a high of 89 today. 87 at Cockeysville. We're at 91 at Westminster. Add in the heat index. Feels like a lot of low to mid 90s, even some upper 90s with extra humidity south of Baltimore. Everybody's going to be in that zone of 95 to 105, though, for tomorrow. And then in the heat of the day between 4 and 9 p.m. tomorrow, also adding to our weather alert, a level 2 of 5 risk of severe weather. The biggest threat going to be damaging winds and some hail out of these storms that are now moving their way through portions of the upper Ohio Valley. Those will move eastbound from the Great Lakes, across Pennsylvania, and into our neck of the woods potentially for tomorrow afternoon's commute. Let's track things out. Overnight tonight, early tomorrow morning, I think is mainly dry. The rain overdone on the future scan. But tomorrow afternoon, as we reach to near 100 by 3 p.m., shortly thereafter, there are those spot storms. Some of those could be strong or severe. Once again, between, say, about 4 or 5 o'clock through about 9, 10 o'clock in the evening. Then those push south and east and out. Look at that real field temperature tomorrow, up to about 105 tomorrow afternoon. So that's some dangerous heat. 74, mild, muggy tonight, mostly clear. Tomorrow, 98 a.m. sun, p.m. strong storms. Our record for the day is 101. We're going to be very close with that high of 98. I've got your exclusive 10-day forecast coming up in just minutes. I'm going to let you know how long the heat lasts and when we could finally see some big relief. That's in a couple of minutes from now.
Jonathan, thanks. Well, we are cheering on Team USA tonight as the women's soccer team faces off against the Netherlands. The game is set for 9, and you can watch it right here on Fox 45. That means you can catch our 10 p.m. news on the CW Baltimore.
This deal was done secretly and hastily.
Did the federal government shield Boeing and its executives from lawsuits following 2 plane crashes? You'll hear from families fighting for justice. All new tonight, the Department of Justice may have broken the law when it gave Boeing an immunity deal. That deal shielded the company and its executives from prosecution for 2 737 MAX plane crashes. Now, those revelations came yesterday during arguments inside a federal appeals court. Lisa Fletcher with our Sinclair sister station in D.C. has been reporting on this case for years and has the new developments.
Less than 6 months apart, 2 Boeing 737 MAX planes crashed, killing everyone on board. As part of an immunity deal with the Department of Justice, Boeing admitted to misleading federal regulators about the safety of its planes. In exchange, the company and its executives would be protected from criminal prosecution. Under the Crime Victims' Rights Act, the law requires victims be consulted in the immunity agreement process. But in this case, we're left out, which is why families are asking a federal court to invalidate the deal.
So it's very important that this court turn back and say, okay, you broke the law, the Department of Justice, you didn't consult with victims. Now that the agreement is not valid. We have to make a new plan, a new prosecution.
Nadia Milleron's daughter, Samia, died in the second crash on March 10, 2019. She and other victims say Boeing should not be protected from prosecution.
Is there evidence that proves that Boeing's executives acted in a criminal manner?
Well, in this case, Boeing, the company, has admitted that it committed a crime, conspiracy, and the district judge has found that this was the deadliest corporate crime in U.S. history. 346 people died, but nobody was ever held criminally accountable, and that's what this case is all about. Boeing, the company, and its then leadership should be criminally prosecuted for the deadly crimes that they committed.
Paul Cassell is a former federal judge and law professor who made the argument before the appeals court.
We're hoping that the Court of Appeals will send this case back to the district court and strike out of this agreement the immunity provisions.
If the DOJ has already demonstrated its willingness to essentially protect Boeing and its leadership, why should families have any hope that that would change?
Well, this deal was done secretly and hastily at the close of the previous administration. So we're hoping that if the courts order the Justice Department to take a fresh look at the case and a fair-minded assessment of the evidence, that the result will be very different.
Earlier this summer, a Texas district court determined the Department of Justice violated the Crime Victims' Rights Act, but concluded it was powerless to take action. If the appeals court finds in favor of the victims, it will send the case back to Texas with guidance on how to proceed.
That was Lisa Fletcher reporting. Victims' families came in from all over the world for this hearing. And with the federal appeals court, it could take months before there's a verdict. We, of course, will keep you in the loop.
Exclusive 10-day forecast could be threatening records Thursday and Friday, just a couple of degrees off 98. Weather alert day for the heat and some spotty strong storms in the afternoon Thursday. 99 Friday, 97 Saturday. Showers and storms there going to cool us down. Take the edge off the humidity well into next week. Could be near 90, though, by the end of next week. And although we're talking about some of the hottest days of the summer coming up, yes, we are your back-to-school headquarters, and it's just over a month till most of the kids go back to the mostly air-conditioned schools.
Well, that's all for Fox 45 News at 6. Family Feud is up next. We'll see you back here tonight at 10 on the CW Baltimore. And go USA Women's Soccer. Good night.